Occupying the corner of Cass and Amsterdam Street in Detroit's New Amsterdam district, this beautiful building was built in 1927 and designed by Albert Kahn for Walter Bem to serve as a new Buick and Pontiac dealership. Throughout the building's history, it's remained an automotive dealership. In 1972, the Dalgleish family, with an already established Cadillac dealership, purchased this building and relocated their dealership into its walls. Over the next 40 years, the Dalgleish Cadillac dealership established a real presence in the neighborhood and was extremely successful. Despite that, in 2009, during General Motors' restructuring, the decision was made to close this dealership, and the building went vacant. Its future at that point remained very uncertain. Despite the building's long automotive history, Wayne State University expressed interest in the Dalgleish dealership as a way of expanding their Techtown district. A decision was made to purchase the building and, along with a major renovation and addition, converted into their new biomedical research facility. While this is great news for not only the neighborhood but also for fans of historic architecture, one key component was not going to remain in the building's new life, and that was the 80-foot-tall water tower that graced its roof. Multiple community groups came together to try and find new life for this structure and relocated to other parts of the neighborhood. However, none of these proposals proved feasible, and with construction deadline looming, Wayne State University was forced to hire a contractor to remove the tower to allow construction to begin, and the plan was to send the metal for scrap. In a final effort to save parts of this iconic structure, Sue Mosey of Midtown Inc., along with Wayne State University, reached out to the owners of the Green Garage. They had recently purchased the historic Elmore apartment building 2 miles to the south and were beginning plans for its renovation. The hope was that the Green Garage could draw upon its experience of finding reuse for materials and that parts of the metal structure could be used in their new development. On February 1st, 2013, contractors arrived on the site and started erecting cranes to allow workers to be hoisted up to begin making cuts to bring down the water tower. Cuts were then made through each of the tank's 4 support legs, freeing it from the building, and a crane was set up to slowly begin lifting the tank off the building and relocating it down below to a parking lot. Once firmly resting on the ground, workers began making plans to make strategic cuts to the tank body to allow it to be lowered onto a trailer and taken on a journey 2 miles to the south to its new home at the Elmore. The Green Garage, along with Wayne State University, had been able to come up with a plan to save this iconic structure and find a new life. Later that week, a caravan consisting of Wayne State police escorts along with 2 fully loaded semi-trucks began taking components of the water tower to the Elmore building. This took them straight down Cass Avenue through the center of campus, and many onlookers, students and neighbors alike, came out to watch this historic moment unfold. Once on site, the tank body was placed on the lot to the east of the Elmore building, where it will become part of an entryway to a new park we'll be building in 2015. Now, while the tank body had received most of the attention due to its sheer size and excitement over its reuse, the legs were not forgotten. These cross-strapped steel legs were reloaded onto a truck a couple weeks later and taken over to DeSanios Ornamental Iron in southwest Detroit to prep them for their new use. 1 year later, workers from DeSanios Ironworks drove back out to the site and re-delivered the legs to our... The legs had been prepped with new bottom plates to mount to foundations in the ground. They had brackets mounted to support decks on each floor level of the Elmore building. They'd been sandblasted to relieve them of rust and completely repainted, looking as good as when they were new. During the light snowfall in the afternoon, the steel legs that had once graced the top of a 1927 Albert Kahn building 2 miles to our north were rising once again at the Elmore building. Ironically, it was the same exact crane operator from J.J. Curran and Company that had been hired to remove the tank, who was down here a year later, now standing these pieces back up in place. Now fully installed, these legs provide the structural support for a series of balconies coming off the north side of the Elmore building and allowing residents to get outdoors and enjoy the view to the north. These simple metal elements could have easily been lost to the fires of a metal scrapping facility, but instead, they're allowed to carry forward their own history as well as contributing to the future of another project. I can't think of a better example of creative reuse of materials, both from an environmental standpoint, but also from a standpoint of preserving our culture and our history, and allowing people to pass on the stories through their understanding of how these materials are reused.